In case you're out of the loop, it was announced that the gongs from the summer event have been rebalanced. That's right, after a month-long event, the buildings just got much worse. In the case of the Ascended Golden Dragon Gong, it went from 7 forge points per day to only about 2.7, on top of nerfs to attack boosts, goods, and just about everything else. The reason is valid, in that they had an issue that would lock players out of their worlds if a roadless limited building decayed into one that required a road. Unable to fix this bug, this is the solution they came to. On the surface, I agree that this is something that would need to be addressed, and I can understand the need to fix it immediately. However, having this fix come out 2 months after these buildings were first introduced, and even worse, after the event has already ended, is completely unacceptable. If you know your buildings have a bug, you nerf them up front to the version you'd feel comfortable players having on live servers. Then if you fix the bug and can get them working as you want, you can buff those buildings and players can enjoy the new bonuses. The only way to get the Ascended versions of these buildings were from Superboards, mini-challenges calendar, and the paid event passes. That means players got a pretty limited number of them unless you spent real-world money to get the event passes to buy more. The worst part, this is not the first time this has happened. Just recently with the History event, the Silk Weaver's Emporium was removed from the main event building to be exclusive in the paid pass, and this was also done after the live server event had already begun. In short, there is a clear pattern emerging of having fixes or rebalancing come out late for events, especially relating to the things that players can and do spend real money on. Now, unlike many of my fellow players, I don't think InnoGames is doing this maliciously. I think that for whatever reason, they run into delays, or in the case of the gongs, a bug that takes longer to patch than they first expected. However, that is no excuse for this to keep happening. It degrades the developer and player relationship, making it much more difficult for players to trust that something they spend money on will still be the same thing in a day's, weeks, or month's time. So what now is the resolution? How can this be fixed? I think there are a few steps that should be taken by InnoGames here. First, for the short term, Inno should offer a solution to compensate players who no longer want the buildings they may have spent for. Maybe reimburse the event pass or give an in-game credit for future things. I don't really know. I don't do customer service stuff, I'll leave that to qualified people who do. But regardless, some kind of recompense needs to be implemented within the next few days for players that have invested their money and now are unsatisfied with what they spent it on. Second, for the long term, I would like to see a procedure for how issues like this will be handled in the future when something in events is rebalanced after those events have already begun on live servers. Saying that it won't happen again or that you are aware of it is one thing. Committing to supporting your players is another. Whether it is free diamonds upon a negative mid-live server event rebalancing or extra event currency, some kind of system must be put in place to compensate players who spend in or play an event to maximize a certain reward only for that reward to be fundamentally changed. Again, I leave the details up to Inno to make it satisfactory for players. Additionally, I would hope that after a similar incident occurred just a few months ago, InnoGames will implement internal procedures to avoid having things like this happen again. As I said before, nerfing things on beta preemptively to avoid bugs or issues, and then buffing them during live events if there isn't enough engagement, or introducing new mechanics that make those buildings more powerful, is infinitely better than worsening the thing that someone spent money on. I'd rather be under-promised and have the game over-deliver, rather than promise something powerful and then rug pull. That said, be nice if you are contacting support about this, please. They didn't make the decision and probably have a lot of tickets to sort through. Hopefully this can be resolved quickly and in a satisfactory way. As for me, I have a care event video to finish up, so I'll see you all next time.